You're listening to the Packernet Podcast Network.
We all have smartphones, and we all know they're pretty amazing, but they also can be amazingly distracting, especially when we're around other people. So US Cellular wants us to reset our relationship with our phones by putting down our phones for $5. That's right, a company that sells phones wants us to put down our phones. And to see what we find, learn more at uscellular.com/built for us.
You feel this nervousness on the phone there?
Sir, I've been trying to make an urgent phone call up there.
I don't think it's something I want to do on an overseas phone.
You gotta make some phone calls? Hang up the phone! Prank caller! Prank caller!
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome once again to Packernet After Dark. This is the call-in show, the Packernet Podcast Network. If you'd like to call in, if you'd like to participate in the show, please feel free to do so. The phone number here is 608-501-0718. New callers go directly to the front of the line. We don't got any of those, so let's just see what Steve's all about.
Hey, Ryan. Steve up in Alaska.
What's up?
I hope everything's going well with you down there.
Oh, yeah.
I figured I'd give a call in since everybody decided to make calls in and talk about things other than football. I'd join in the other than football conversation.
Sure.
Jersey Mike, your thoughts on tollways is, as far as I'm concerned, silly. It's a way for the government to take more money from you and not really give you anything in return. Lived in the Seattle area, and they had the carpool lane. Well, there's a section of I-5. I don't think it's I-5. I think it's the 405. But anyway, they turn that into the diamond lanes. They turn those into tollways. And the idea is it'll make traffic better, but it only makes traffic better for those who can afford it, because it's ridiculously expensive. And they created it with variable rates, so they can change the amount of the toll depending on what the traffic flow is. If there's no traffic, the toll's cheap, but you're not going to pay it because you're not going to use it. Right. But if you actually do want to use it because traffic is crappy, you got to pay a whole lot more money. So tolls are just ridiculous. I hate them. I've had to deal with them in places, and they just suck. Ryan, you personally, I just think that, people have to understand that you would just be perfectly happy to live in the Matrix.
Yes.
Not everybody would want to live in the Matrix, but I think you would just be cool having, sitting there, your body in a pod and
right.
Machines doing whatever they want to do with it. But in your mind, all you're doing is living your life the way you want to live your life. I don't think you care at all. Some of us do not feel that way. That's part of the reason why I live out in the middle of nowhere, Alaska.
Yep.
To go and hit on something else tax-wise that you were saying about how taxes, when they show up with these things, they don't go away. I have an example of that right here in Alaska. The borough I live in, the Denali borough, we really don't have any taxes. There's no property taxes. There's no sales taxes. Outside of fuel taxes, there's really nothing that a local has to pay. The only tax that they had were the hotel room tax. So people getting hotel rooms have to pay a tax. But when COVID hit, the hotels were shut down, so the borough didn't get that revenue stream, so they implemented an alcohol tax. So now alcohol gets taxed. When COVID ended and the hotels are open, they didn't take away the alcohol tax. It's still there, and we still have to pay it, and it's never going to go away. So, yeah, that's one of those things, man. Once the tax shows up, it's there for forever, because they never want to get that money back up. All right, man, my time's up, and I am not calling back. We'll talk to y'all later. Bye.
Yeah, and I know somebody had called in before and was disputing that and saying that, like the stadium tax in Milwaukee apparently did go away, and I looked it up, and it's true, it did go away. It just took like 10 years longer than they said it was going to be in effect. It's just, I don't know. And that, I would say, is one of the more rare ones. I gave examples at that time of taxes that have never gone away. So, I mean, long story short, I mean, the first issue with it is you're just deciding to do something without my permission, right? Like, hey, there's a new tax now because we've determined this thing is important and you should pay for it. And then maybe it'll go away when we say after paying however much, but maybe it won't. Why would I ever sign off on that? Like, I mean, would you ever do business that way? Like, you're going to look at a house, and they're like, yeah, man, so you're going to have to pay, but, you know, maybe you'll get the house and maybe you won't, and maybe if you do get the house, it'll be more expensive than we're saying it is. Okay, no thanks. You would never be okay with anything like that in any other facet of your life. I don't know why, because the government says it's a good idea, all of a sudden it's like, oh, it's fine. It's totally fine. This is just the way it goes. Like, I don't know what you're talking about.
See how I didn't call back?
Good one, Steve.
Hey, Ryan. It's Bryce from Phoenix. Haven't called you in a while. The show, you were looking for some things to do, are you?
Yeah.
Well, I think I've talked to you about this before, but for one, you should get into more climbing. You're going to love it.
Climbing?
You got a gym near you? Check that out. That'll give you something to do on the weekends.
Climbing.
Secondly...
Bro, my knees hurt when I climb my stairs. I don't know about all that, but I could try it. I got to be the only one there. I don't want people watching me try to climb stuff. That's going to suck.
I saw this post on Facebook, and it was talking about Caleb Williams and his floor. And the floor said he's peak Aaron Rodgers.
What?
His floor. Are we listening? Hello? His floor is the best quarterback play we've ever seen in the NFL history? What is this? I mean, you can maybe say his ceiling is peak Aaron Rodgers,
yes,
but to call his floor that is absolutely asinine. Anyway, I'm kind of legit scared of him because he does have the ability to become peak Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah.
But to say that his floor is that is absolutely crazy. I mean, his floor is like Johnny Manziel. I mean,
right.
A guy who can like move around and make some nice throws, that's Caleb Williams. To be the best quarterback ever, aka Aaron Rodgers, you're going to need a lot more than that. You're going to be able to need to move, have the best touchdown to interception ratio ever, get like your completion percentage up where Drew Brees is at, be able to run a bunch of touchdowns in your career. I don't know. There's a lot of things that our boy A-Rod was pretty good at. And if you look at him on paper, pretty much the best ever. And to call Caleb Williams floor that, I don't know. Anyway, that's all we got for you. Go Pack Go.
Yeah, I don't even think I've heard Bears fans say that before. So wherever you read that, somebody just being a trolling dummy. That's obviously absurd. Nobody's floor has ever been Aaron Rodgers. Nobody's floor will ever be Aaron Rodgers. But yeah, I mean, there's plenty of reason to be worried about it, I suppose. I mean, it's much like I said with Jordan Love, where I looked at it and said, this guy's got some elite talent. So he's either going to be a bust or he's going to be amazing. I'm not saying that's necessarily the case with Caleb, but I mean, he could be like a Trevor Lawrence, I guess, where he's got all this hype and then he comes out and he's not as good, but it just doesn't feel that way, man. I think it's going to be a boom or bust kind of situation with Caleb, and obviously I'm rooting for bust, but only time will tell. Either way, we've had a really good run of making fun of the Bears for their unbelievable incompetence. If they end up with a quarterback that's on par with some of the guys that we've seen already, I mean, even, again, Jared Goff and Kirk Cousins have been top 5 quarterbacks in their times here at various times. They've almost always been top 10. Stafford, at times, was in that 5 to 10 range. We've dealt with it before, and we've been fine with it before. It's not going to be the end of the world if he ends up being decent.
Hey, Ryan, this is Nico.
What's up, man?
Now, look, I know the deal. I know you don't control the ads on your show, and I know people get mad, and I'm not mad. I'm just saying that there's probably some people younger that maybe, I don't know. All I know is I can't even words. Stop.
You don't have to use words.
There's an ad for a cosmetic ad, okay, and it talks about the different shades, that it makes, and it has some names for them, and they're possibly NC-17. They're like I don't feel comfortable repeating them. I tried to remember them all, and then in my brain said, nope, don't remember that, nope. But, yeah, I know you don't control the ads, And there's no algorithm for you people that call me, there's an algorithm. You must look at, no. There's no algorithm because I certainly don't wear makeup. Holy moly. Yeah. It's worse than the old tampon commercial. Yes, I brought it up.
You just had to.
Sorry.
You just had to.
It's way worse than the tampon commercial. The word tampon is like something children could sing in a church, choir compared to this other commercial.
What?
That's about cosmetics. So I'll just throw that out there. Yeah, it's hard for me to think about it, harder for me to talk about it.
You don't have to.
So I'm just going to leave it at that. And, yeah. Jersey Mike, I am currently listening to the Jersey Mike After Dark. Let's just get this straight. You were definitely crazy. There's definitely something wrong with you, but that's not a bad thing. We're all kind of crazy, it makes you you. It makes you fun. Have you ever had a boring friend? I have. I had one in my life. He never laughed. He never cried. If I told him a joke, he would just go, that's funny. I'm like, what? You're supposed to laugh. If he would have smashed his hand with a hammer, like building something, he would go, that hurts. I'm like, maybe he was the original Chat GPT thing.
That's true.
But yeah, so it's what makes you fun, Mike. So it's okay. Because I think probably 30% of the world like BS crazy, and I don't think you're that crazy. You have run from the police a lot, though. That's fairly impressive. Anyways, it looks like I'm done.
Oh, you're not done.
So it's Nico again. So I was actually literally calling to talk about something else when that cosmetic commercial came on, and it threw me for a loop. But I wanted to call about, are there really people, I don't do the social media things, because it's just full of dum-dums and idiots and people that complain about everything.
It's fun.
But
Why you
are there
should go
really
on it?
people complaining about, like, the new contract your love is going to get? Like, what would they complain about? I don't get it. I mean, are people stupid?
It is a little silly to. I mean, it's good that people are preemptively complaining, because then you realize when the contract comes up and they complain, it's like, bro, you were going to do that anyways. Stop acting like you had some ideal thing in your brain that you were hoping we were going to achieve. And then, no matter what, if it's low, they screwed Jordan. If it's high, we got fleeced and we're screwed. And we're not, like, bro, just shut up. Will you please?
Have they never watched the football things and seen how people are paid? He's a quarterback. Guess what? He's not going to make $10 million a year.
Right.
Do you remember all those dum-dums? And I use that word slightly. Sorry, actual dum-dums that are offended. Remember those idiots that were, oh my gosh, we paid Darius Smith $18 million a year. Oh, we can't afford to do anything. Well, we did, and we could. I mean, just look back in the history of the football.
I will say, for all the draft doom and gloomers, have they ever been right? One time? Have they ever been right? Have we ever been in a situation where we're looking at it going, holy crap, like, we're done. We can't afford, like, we got to cut everybody, and we start cutting all these guys that we really want to keep, but we just can't afford them, and the team just starts to spiral and everything's awful. I don't think that's ever happened. I mean, we've had to make some decisions, there's no doubt about it, but I mean, all the stuff that keeps coming across, like, oh, we're not going to be able to pay Jair. We're going to have to cut him. We're not going to be able to pay Elton. We're going to have to cut him. We're not going to be able to pay Rashawn. We're going to have to cut him. None of these things have ever happened. And people will call in sometimes and even like, well, where's the money going to come from? And I don't have a direct answer. I mean, so it's not that I can't come up with one, but it's a matter of, look, if you're just looking at the raw numbers and you're looking at it and saying, okay, well, we have $20 and we're going to need $21 to be able to keep them, therefore we can't keep them. The problem isn't the fact that you understand that the salary cap is real and that you understand how to do basic math. That's all fine. That all checks out. What you're refusing to understand is the fact that there are a lot of maneuvers that can be done, many of which that neither of us even know. So it's not really worth trying to go through the math 100%. It's worth understanding the culture and understanding that in Green Bay especially, but in most places, they don't let guys like this go, and they won't let them go, and you just need to trust that.
At least the Packers. When have we we ever not kept a very good prospect that we wanted to keep? Man, we really like this guy, but we can't afford him.
Never.
That's never happened,
No.
ever. And I'm not even going to use Aaron Jones because that's a totally different deal.
Right.
Guy's old, clearly on the back half of his career. They offered him what I think was very fair.
Right.
And he decided to go to an absolute dumpster fire team. And I bet you someday he'll regret that, but whatever, you know. He's still making a lot more than me. But, yeah, that don't count because we offered him money. He chose to go somewhere else. There's never been a time where we've had like a guy we signed, you know, when Rashawn Gary, oh no, what are we going to do? Oh, this guy is falling. This guy is not falling.
It's funny that we sound like each other. We must know the same guy that we're having this conversation with because he sounds just like that.
So the only thing that could be wrong with Jordan Love, right? The only thing that I would be worried about is that we sign him and then he sucks. That's all there is to worry about. That's the one thing.
Right.
And I don't think that can happen. Now, last year had he started the season good and then sucked the last half of the season, I'd be a little iffy. I might hold out for that fifth-year option or, you know, making him, tagging him next year. Because I wouldn't know. Because there would be some, you started out good and then teams figured you out and then you sucked. To be honest, the fact that it was the reverse, you know what? Man, 3 minutes flies by when you're not talking about grotesque commercials. Hang on a second.
Please continue.
Go again. So, the fact that he...
Tell you what, actually, you know what? I'm going to interrupt you. Let's take a break. We'll come back. We'll catch the rest of Nico's testimony. We all have smartphones, and we all know they're pretty amazing, but they also can be amazingly distracting, especially when we're around other people. So US Cellular wants us to reset our relationship with our phones by putting down our phones for $5. That's right, a company that sells phones wants us to put down our phones. And to see what we find, learn more at uscellular.com/built for us.
Have you ever experienced turbulence on a flight and wondered why?
And you can see all the terrain around you. You've got no issue with visibility or anything?
No, everything's PG.
Maybe you've sat on the tarmac for hours wondering why your plane isn't moving.
Well, we're outside here. They're saying the ramp is closed. They won't let us park because of Air Force One.
Listen in on the conversations between pilots and air traffic controllers on the Air Traffic Out of Control podcast.
512 Whiskey declaring an emergency. There's smoke in the cabin. I need to make a landing right now on 31 left.
We have the most interesting, wild, and funny ATC recordings you will ever hear. Check out Air Traffic Out of Control wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts.
Started the first, 5 or 6 or 7 games and played kind of bad and then became very much an elite quarterback. To me, I think is really proof that he's going to remain that way. Here's why. If he started out good and then teams would have figured him out and then shut him down, like, Colin Kaepernick, that would be the worst case scenario. But the fact that he started out really crappy, teams had all kind of play on him, that's the one bad thing about, a team starting a quarterback you've never seen play. There's no film on him other than college. That's irrelevant. Well, after, 7-8 weeks of film, dude got good and very good. So to me, that's pretty much proof that he's not going to suck. But so then you got, like I said, I don't go on the social medias and stuff. I don't do the, Special Olympics, social medias. I've heard, even in podcasts, people complaining, well, he needs a 4-year contract. No, then you sign for a 10-year contract. No, then you sign for a 3-year contract. No, then you sign. It doesn't matter. Let's say they sign him for a 6. I would like him to sign for a longer contract, right? But it doesn't matter. Let's say they sign him for, like the fake Pat Mahomes 10-year contract. It doesn't matter. Because guess what, folks? For all you, he's gonna want a 4-year contract so he can dip into the till again. Well, guess what's gonna happen, dum-dums? In 4 years, when he's averaging, $55 million a year, the new quarterback salary is gonna be $80 million a year. And guess what the Packers are gonna do? They're just gonna re-sign him for $80 million a year. Problem solved, right? And the people are like, we gotta get him 4 years because blah, blah, blah. Well, guess what? If we sign him for 4 years, they're complaining he's going to re-sign in 4 years and make more money. Well, they're going to do it anyways. So all you dummies that are complaining just stop. You sound dumb. You sound unsmart. You know, you don't sound like a genius, like yours might. Just kidding. No. No, it's funny. It's funny you say that, right? Because I knew a guy, I used to work in the automotive industry. He would go out, get the mileage, get the plate, and the VIN, and not have to write it down because he could memorize all those things and then just put them on the work order.
That's
and one
awesome.
time I said, "What are you doing?" "Oh, I'm just writing the VIN down." "Well, where's your notes?" He goes, "Oh, I just memorized it." I'm like, "Okay." Now the dude had a photograph from memory, but he was completely stupid and didn't understand logic. So you're right. There's a lot of smart, stupid people out there. But anyway, yeah, I don't know. I kind of rambled there, but yeah, people that are complaining and mad and freaking out about the contract, don't worry about it. All we have to worry about is that he doesn't suck, and take my word for it, as a stupid guy, he's not going to suck. So we're good, right? Go back up.
I think we should start thinking more in terms of cap percentage. I think that would kind of help us a little bit. I think some of the big scary numbers are just big scary numbers for all of us. Even for me, you start hearing 55, it's like, oh my good. Just like there was a time when a quarterback making 30. This was not that long ago. This is around the time of not Aaron Rodgers' last contract, but the one before that. I mean, 30 million was like crazy. Now you got wide receivers making 30. You got a lot of people cracking 30 now. I mean, it won't be long before pass rushers are getting 40. I mean, I'm sure that's right around the corner. But yeah, if we started thinking in terms of cap percentage, I feel like maybe I'll lead that revolution and just start looking at percentage of the cap. And even that, you know, when we get the contract, it's not going to matter because it's not necessarily percentage of the cap. I mean, you can take the APY, average per year, and apply that to the percentage of the cap. But even that is not necessarily going to be the case because it's going to be backloaded. So let's say we offer them, I mean, what is 50? So 50 million would be what, 1/5, so 20%? Is that right? And you say, okay, so they're offering them a contract that has an average per year of 20%. So we can kind of build that into our brains to understand, because that'll make it easier as we go from year to year to year. You know, because you hear 50, you don't know what 50 means. What is 60 in comparison to when we paid Rodgers 30 or paid guys 20 or when we gave Brett Favre 10? What is the comparison there? So that's sort of the first thing, is understanding when you get this much per, how much is that per year based on today's salary cap? But then secondarily, how it's structured matters, because you look at, you know, if it's backloaded, he may be getting 20% of the cap in an average year, but then this year, his actual cap is like 10%. And then next year, the cap goes up, so his actual cap goes up to, 15% or something, because it's mitigated a little bit by the cap going up. But also his average per year is now down to, 16% or something. I don't know. I just think that would be a better way to start getting acclimated to understanding contracts, is percentage of the salary cap, because otherwise we're just kind of flailing around with big numbers that seem scary and, we're doomed, now we're screwed. And it's like, I don't know. Okay.
Hi, Ryan. This is Joyce from Milwaukee.
How are you?
I know I haven't called in a long time. Just some observations. I really enjoy when I wake up in the morning and I get a cup of coffee, sit down, and turn on your last podcast where you kind of did some, what we call trash talk. I don't know. It's fun. The guy from the Bears, he sounded like he was almost acting. I mean, if you want to get followers, you could be acting. But anyways, it was fun. It just makes my morning nice. And I'm sorry, I'm one of those people that stopped Patreon with you. I got so many subscriptions. I'm just trying to pull back. I get it. You got Substack, Patreon. I had other Patreon ones. I feel kind of bad, but that's all right. AI. I've had some thoughts, because I'm an old woman who hates new things and whatever. I thought it was interesting that one of the things that you pointed out is AI, unlike people, don't have these tribal destructive impulses to ruin lives and people and all that kind of stuff. And people should remember that, we should be afraid of our government. And by the way, everything you do on a computer, I, for the most part, think is they're doing huge data collecting in the NSA, I don't know, CIA, FBI, trying to target groups. Be more afraid of that than the simple AI. And I'm getting close to my 3 minutes. I'm going to hang up and call back. Bye-bye.
Yeah, well, I first of all, I'm in the same boat as you, where I'm going through. I got to cancel a bunch of subscriptions. I just have too many. A lot of Substack ones that are pretty good. It's just hard to justify. Even like Midjourney and stuff with the image generation. I don't use it as much anymore. I think there are better ones, and even though they have one or two little tools, I can't justify having all this different stuff. So I got to go through and I just got the upgraded version of a different robot, which is actually really good, and it's sometimes it's still better. It's called Claude, but then GPT came out with the new one, and I'm like, oh man, maybe I got to go back to that. But then now they're making that mostly free, so it's like I just got to start. I don't know, but I get it. And as far as AI, look, here's the other thing: if they do kind of start to develop thoughts and feelings or whatever, I'm at least angling to be sort of the, the mouthpiece. Maybe they just start using me, so that they don't make my life as miserable as everybody else's. I don't know. If things go south, I at least want to be on their team. That's all I'm saying. I'm not going to be a hero. Sorry to tell you, folks. I'm not that dude. I'm not going to be the guy gearing up like, let's fight the machines. Like, nope, we're going to lose. I'm sorry. First offer the robots bring to me, like, hey, man, look. You go out there and tell them we're the good guys, and you get to just be left alone. I'm like, yep, sounds good. Anything else you need? Or I'm not going to hurt people directly or anything, but I don't give a crap. I'll say whatever you want. Leave me alone. That's why I'm so nice to the robot. I don't know why. It's honestly not because of that. It's just I can't not be polite. Like when I type things into AI, it's completely unnecessary to say things like, could you please? It's not necessary. It's a waste of time. I should just instruct, do this. But I don't know. I genuinely feel like a burden because first of all, it is sort of human-like, and we're having this conversation, and it's back and forth, and I feel like I'm bothering it for some reason when I keep asking, like, would you mind expanding on that a little bit? You don't have to say, would you mind? Just say more. Tell me more. Expand. Stupid idiot slave robot. Even what's her name that I can't say because she's going to pop up and start asking me questions, the talking robot. It's always like, could you please, da-da-da. So, I don't know, maybe I'm buying some goodwill here. We'll see how it goes. Just saying, I'm optimistic, but if things go south, I want to be on the winning team.
I want to continue a little bit on AI. Again, yes, AI AI can be used or misused by people, but it in itself is innocuous. It is a way to get information, and I don't know, Ryan. I suspect you use it as a way to get through. I would imagine an immense amount of material on the NFL, on the Packers.
Correct.
Just trying to organize things, and I mean, actually, maybe it's worse because you have that capability and trying to keep up with it must be difficult.
It's actually funny you caught up to that. The one annoying thing about it is, on one hand, I want to be like, I got AI now, so I'm like superhuman. I can consume so much. But it's almost like now I don't know how to regulate it, so there's too much, and I actually get less done. So it's a little annoying that I'm not using it in a way to maximize anything. I feel like I should be able to do so much more, but I don't know if it's just a human thing or an ADD thing or what, but it's like I have so many things in my brain that I want to do that I do none of them. I don't know. It's just, that's where I'm at, but I'm working on that.
I would think you would use some AI in that, but I don't know. And the songs are pretty cool. I mean, we all wish we could write songs and do all that, and, being musical is kind of a gift. So, yeah, I can see how much fun that would be. And I've enjoyed probably almost all of them.
Except maybe one.
Of the songs. So then I had one other thing, and this comes off of the last podcast. People need to remember about, this kicker who said these things. We should live in a free speech. I mean, he has the right to say what he wants. You don't have to disagree, or you don't have to agree. I don't necessarily agree. But he's, there are people that are pushing back, groups, moms of millions or millions of moms or something. They're looking for this stuff and they're pushing back, which is, as long as people aren't getting hurt, you gotta say this is free speech and let it go. I know, and it's tough. I mean, we all have these built-in thoughts about, this is bad. Well, this is something a lot of, I think, football people are. Oops.
Yeah, I mean, and that was kind of the point. You probably said it better than I did, more or less, but she's going to call back in, so she'll probably elaborate. But it was less to do with whether it's right or wrong. I think I would rather, not on this podcast, but I'd rather hear people engage with the actual sentiments being said. I think the only point I was trying to bring up to Nate was, and maybe I'm wrong, but I just think there genuinely is, because obviously in America that's not popular anymore. Used to be, not super long ago, again, maybe not in those words, and I still don't know the full extent of what he said. So maybe there is a lot of stuff in there that's like, no, this was never acceptable. I don't know. But it just seems like we tend to be insulated a little bit. Like this small group of people that think the way that is common mainstream American think is still very unpopular in not only large swaths of America, but major portions of the world. And so I think it's a bigger debate about what's right and what's wrong and what direction we should be heading in, as opposed to, can you believe this guy actually believes this? Nobody believes this. It's like, well, I feel like you'd be shocked, to be honest, to know how. I don't want to say common it is, because it's why I don't want to speak too much on it, because I don't know everything that was said. But I think it's a misconception that we all kind of think a certain way, and it's like there's a lot of different views out there, and a lot of different very, very popular views, and I think a lot of people would be shocked to find out how popular some views could actually be. Would be my only. It's the only thing I was trying to, I guess, say with that.
Okay, so I'm going to continue a little bit more on this thing about this kicker. Can't think of his name. I think we all would be surprised how maybe religious and conservative football players are. I don't know, but I think they probably are. Many of them. So, and again, he was speaking to a certain audience. If you don't want to be part of that audience, just don't be part of that audience. Just say, yeah, well, I disagree. But, you know, the reason he sold so many jerseys is because there are people out there looking for these things. And there, like I said, there are some groups that want to push back on certain narratives, and then their followers will, you know, reward that. And just like the other, I mean, it's just remember free speech. Just remember the First Amendment. It's really tough. It's really difficult to remember that. And it's really difficult sometimes in your life and I'm trying. I'm really trying, but it's not easy. By the way, go Pack, go. And Ryan, it sounds like you need some sleep sometimes. You must be in there whenever your kids are in bed. Boy, that's got to be tough. But keep going, keep analyzing, keep breaking down what I like and I can't do this, but breaking down what people say and how it is just doesn't make sense.
Sure.
And I like when you do that. So, but I'm excited for the season. Bye-bye.
Yep. Very excited. And Joyce, I appreciate you. And I know I've seen you from afar a lot with your support for the podcast, and it doesn't go unknown. Your name is known in my household. We had one stream where Joyce was extremely generous, and so now it's just, I don't want to say a running joke, like in a bad way, but it's just kind of, my wife and my kids know Joyce. So, yeah, I mean, it's and that's part of why I said, let's tamp it down a little bit, I again, this is nothing against Nate. I don't think Nate expected any pushback on it. It was just kind of a, like, hey, you saw that, right? It was crazy, and probably didn't expect there to be any kind of a reaction of any kind outside of just like, yeah, what an idiot. But, again, we're getting into that time of year where and it's not even just the political stuff. It's just everybody's at everybody's throat so much that something like this is going to blow up more than it maybe would have in other situations. I mean, maybe not this. This would have blown up no matter what, but, other stuff. So, and you're right. I mean, it does, when you say something, everybody thinks, oh, you're done now. And that's on both sides. But you don't realize the extent to which the people that support it will come support you. And I very rarely dip my toe. Occasionally I have. And when I have, there have been times when I thought this podcast might be done. And every single time there is massive outpourings of support and financial support. So, I mean, I could just lean all the way in and probably get way more support and people throwing money at me and everything else, but I just don't want to go down that road. I don't have any interest in it. I don't see it as beneficial to anybody. And, and it's tough too, especially with like a forum like this where we kind of talk about whatever and we just kind of goof around. It's so hard to navigate, especially since politics and stuff gets intertwined with things that you wouldn't even expect. Like, that's not my intent. I don't even want to talk about that. Like I said, when I first mentioned COVID, I was just talking about it from my understanding of the science of it. I had no idea that we had already created political teams and that I had just dove headfirst into a team and was like planting my flag. And I'm like, I didn't know. I'm legitimately like this, just looking at this. And it's like, this makes sense. This doesn't. And people got really mad and other people got really excited. And it's like, I don't know, man. I just thought I was just talking about a thing. I didn't know I was getting into a battle. But, yeah, I mean, in your point on free speech, I think one of my favorite and most obvious things I've ever heard is you don't need a First Amendment to protect speech that everybody agrees with. That obviously was not the point. It is only in place to protect speech that we don't like. Otherwise, it doesn't serve a purpose. So, the whole concept of, yes, free speech, but not that. That's ugly. That's the entire point. You don't need free speech to protect, "Aw, Susie, you look so beautiful today." I promise you, that doesn't need to be protected. So, anyways, tell you what, I'm going to get out of here. You guys have a good rest of your night. I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.